All right, 9 o'clock. Respect for all the people that turned up. Let's get rolling. So glad to see you all here. This chat line is open, so use it. Every chance you get, we're going to try and respond to your questions. And as we go along, you know, I was thinking a bit about us and our company. You know, what we say, if somebody asks me for my elevator pitch, if you like, I'd say that we enable organizations, leaders, and their teams to reach their potential by providing unique advantages in the game of business and life through insights, innovations, and inspirations. And you know, some of our best learning comes when
Uh-oh.
we're playing, which is really where we
Think we
came up
lost
with
them.
that idea about saying that it's a bit of a game. And life should be fun, and that's why we think of business as a game. And if you think of it that way, where are the cheat sheets? Where are the tips? Where are the tools? How can you really get better at it? And next chart, that's what got us excited about saying, how do we build the kind of things people would like? A little gratitude. Many of you and others responded when Forbes ran their little contest to pick out the best 100 career based websites, and we're on that list. And we thank all of you that participated in that. That was a great honor, and we're kind of excited about that and the people it connects us to. Next chart. So here's the burning platform we thought about some time ago that, you know, people are looking for ways to be seen as thought leaders because what it is inside your organization, wherever you're working, you want to stand out and you want to be attractive to people outside your company as well so that you can partner, collaborate. You might even at some point in time want another job or at least understand those opportunities. So it's good. And your career is going to last much longer than most companies are in existence. So you've got to think about managing yourself and your personal brand. If you go to the next one, Bryce.
Yeah.
And so we felt that everybody needed this personal brand, and it's more than a bio or a resume. So the first thing we did is worked on helping people get the better LinkedIn profile because that's critical. No one, I mean, everyone's LinkedIn profile is being looked at all the time now. Recruiters use it exclusively. It's always a reference to them, but it's also used by business to business people, getting to know who people are. It's a huge tool to salespeople selling into organizations today. So when you're looking at theirs, they're looking at yours. Very important to have that good. You're going to go through many different jobs over your career, and it's important to optimize each change. So that's why we ran the whole webinar on optimizing your career change opportunity. And then you have to have a network of people that you're networking with, which is they're the people that look at your LinkedIn and you're going to be dealing with them. So we had a webinar on that. Those three are all recorded and they're available. Today we're going to talk about why building your personal website to communicate your expertise is so important. So what's the value to a business? Because this is one question that we got. Well, how will my company feel about me having a personal website?
Yeah, I'd
So,
answer that. Yeah.
so you know, could anyone give us some answers? What do they think the answers would be if you asked your organization?
Yeah, this one was a little tricky for me to think about too when I was putting this together, but there's a lot of good reasons, and you'll see in a second here too. Free
Free
advertising.
advertising, Kimberly, excellent. That's an excellent point. That there are ways you can you can promote yourself, but you're also promoting the company.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point too. You're seeing
Yeah, they're
you're
a good
learning more
point
about
on
your
this. Yep.
employees. What Dave's saying here.
Excellent point, Carol, about representing them in a good light. I mean, we should always be respectful to the organization we currently work with. They're paying a salary, they're employing us, they're giving us opportunities to learn and grow and develop. So whatever we do, it should reflect appropriately. But the work we do when we're in an organization are examples of our output. I mean, it's real easy. If you're a graphic artist or if you're a writer or something like that, then the material you write is clearly yours and you can see it. But you can also talk about a lot of the other projects and the things. Because what the world really wants when it's looking at someone else is, what can you do for me? What could you make happen?
Yeah,
So
and
Bryce, why don't you
Dave's
put up
good
some of
too.
the ideas that we've seen coming in? You know, a good website on yours reflects very positively on a company. We're going to show you several examples of that. Um, people, we always say A players like to work with other A players. And so that if somebody is looking to come to work for a company, today it's not unusual for them to research the people that are working in that company to see if are those the kind of people I'd like to hang out with, because you actually become who you hang out with. That goes back to the last one on value-based networking and the importance of associating with the people that are really going to inspire you and make you grow and develop. You know, leaders are seen as brands themselves, and that means they become very attractive to you. So if you're a leader in an organization and you're trying to recruit in your organization, even though it's the company that's hiring, they're actually also coming to work for you and the people that work for you.
Yeah.
So being that guy that they would like to be, I want to be part of that team. I'm just working with an executive now, just took over global operations, 3,000 people, and there are all his phone's ringing from people that have worked with him in the past that want to come and work from him again. Super story there. You can attract more customers. Um, some people on a personal side can actually build a whole business. This Gary guy is a really fascinating study to see just what he has been able to do. And then I think we got a bunch more examples coming up here. You know, you can be positive, innovative, reputation, which is good because your reputation reflects on that company as a whole as well. And here's some four great examples. A guy at Rackspace, Dan Ponifrat at TELUS that we know well. Dan's a client of ours that Steve Hill has worked with for years. And what's fascinating about Dan, I think there's something else coming. I'll leave that because you'll see some more information about him. And then, you know, Mythbusters Company, Adam Savage, and then Reach Local, Mike Merrill. So those are all, when you get into the web, you know, later on, you should go and look at these websites. It gives you a real appreciation of what you can actually do. So what's the value for you of having a personal website? So Carol's going to give us a little answer. So whip out some
Yeah.
stuff and share. What do you think the value would be to you if you had a personal website? Demonstrating talent. Excellent, Siobhan.
Yeah, you want to do some on these while they're typing these, Jim?
Sure, you could put one. You know, one that a lot of people say, it really protects you a little bit. You know, companies come and go. I'm fascinated by our old thinking. People used to think they join a company and stay there for life. It doesn't happen that way anymore. Except in a few circumstances. You're going to change jobs inside the company, even if you don't go from one company to another. But when something happens, the merger and acquisition happens, you know, and that particular job, it's not personal. These things just disappear. How do you go find something else? And if you've got your own website, it's we're going to show you just the role it plays in this, but it gives you something personal to hang on to for other people to see. So it layers on. You have to have a resume. You have to have a LinkedIn profile. And you link from your LinkedIn profile to your website, and that just gives you that much one bigger uptick in image and brand. And as Byron says, you know, it gives you this personal brand, as Linda said, visibility and credibility.
Yeah, you guys
All
are
right,
doing great.
a couple
Awesome.
more ideas. Yeah. It allows you to build a platform to prove your value. You know, it's when you're in an interview and you're looking for another position, or you're interviewing someone else, or you're talking to someone else, you're trying to collaborate with them. You don't want to talk a lot about yourself. You never learn anything when you're talking. So having something behind you that other people can look at and kind of get a glimpse of what you are, maybe stimulate them to ask questions about you. That's a much better technique than you attempting to educate somebody else on who you are. And you can actually do this cleverly by getting a very dramatic look. that websites have this opportunity to really package. Other products like LinkedIn are very restrictive. You got to play with their rules, what you do and can't do, and you got so many characters you can put in your field descriptions and stuff. But having your own website gives you complete flexibility to make something look like you. And as you'll see when we show you the statistics, it gives you a significant edge over the competition when it comes to getting best jobs inside your current company or in any other additional company. And, you know, what we're hiring today is you want tech savvy people. And so, you know, just having a website puts sort of a stamp on you saying you can do more than change the date on a bit of electronic equipment. You can actually do something. And the amazing thing, as Bryce is going to show you, this isn't really all that complex.
Yeah, it should say deceptively tech savvy because
Yeah,
it doesn't mean you have to be you're a coder or a web
or something
developer
like
or a
that. Yeah.
designer or anything. You really don't have to be these days.
That's right. And then the last point is it really gives you open doors to new opportunities and experiences, which we think is great. So let's go to the next one here and let's look at some examples. Here's a quote that we thought. We went out to all kinds of people that we thought, you know, did a great job of something and got personal quotes from them. We're going to show you a number of them. One, this is from Dan, the New York Times bestselling. He says, if you want to compete in the global talent pool, then you have to have your own website. People are already searching for you or people like you, and every time your website doesn't come up, you lose an opportunity. How many people Google themselves? Put your name in and see what comes up. And there's many people potentially with the same name. I mean, maybe if you're Siobhan, you're pretty lucky you got a really neat, unique name. But most of us, Dave Hunter, an example. There's lots of Dave Hunters out there. How do you stand out when somebody is Googling, looking around, trying to find you or find something?
Exactly.
And the next one, Dan Ponifrat, when we asked Dan, you know, here's his quote. I was fascinated in Dan when I got his book that he wrote called Flat Army, Creating a Connected and Engaged Organization. What that in it he gives thanks and references to his two kids that are inspirational, and he signs or references his kids by their website addresses. And you go there and you find out they've got these great websites, and you search down a little bit and you discover that they are like 5, 7, and 9, and yet their websites are really lovely and for their age and everything communicates a lot. But those kids are off and running
Yeah.
with a lot of parental supervision. You
Yeah.
know, here's the good one we got was a great quote is uh, it came out of a workfolio that 56% of hiring managers are more impressed by a candidate's personal website than any other personal branding tool. But right now, and this is interesting, that 7%, I'm even surprised it's that high, 7% of job seekers actually have a personal website. So this says this is something in the short term that you could, you know, make a big difference if you got one, and this is what we're trying to show you how to do that.
Yep.
So we'll move up one more. So I'm going to turn this over to Bryce, who did the heavy lifting here to pull this together. Bryce runs marketing for us. He's a great writer. You'll see the blog. A lot of you respond to him. And, you know, he's been listed a whole bunch of places. And, of course, his personal website that he created, he'll talk about that, brycechristensen.com. Lots of choices on names and things, and we'll take you through what that goes. So, Bryce, why don't I turn it over to you to take it from
Sure.
here?
So I just want to kind of give you an overview now. Jim's kind of talked about the why we should have a personal website. I'm going to talk about, okay, I understand I need a website. Now, how do I do it? What does it look like? What should I expect? So I'm going to talk about the costs of it, how to do it easily, and some resources that you can use to get it started when you want to start working on it. Um, so I wanted to start with a little story first, though. This is a guy named Jacob Cass. How many of you have seen this TED Talk that he's delivering? I'm just curious if any of you know who this guy is, and I can give you some details or not. All right, so it looks like no one's really seen him before. That's good. So here he is giving a personal TED Talk on building personal foundations. And he is a recent grad from 2007. He lives in Australia, and he gets his degree in design. But he's always had this dream of moving into New York. So he applies for a job there, and a few months before graduation, he gets an offer to have a job in New York City. That's where he's been dreaming his whole life to be able to work. But about 6 months later, Jacob is just told out of the blue that they no longer need him. And that's kind of a big shock for someone who's come all the way from Australia, only 6 months in a whole different country, to be told you basically don't have a job anymore. But the bigger shock is that he finds out that he only has 10 days to find a new job, or he has to leave the country according to his visa accommodations. So, what he does is he sends out a blog post on his personal website, and this is what it says: Your help needed looking to find a new full time job in New York City. And he was able to do it in 10 days. But something else happens here. The government has to basically approve any of the jobs you get on a visa, and they decided not to approve this one. So he was kind of running short on time. He only had 1 day left, and there was no way he could find a job. So he had to leave the country. And when you leave the country, you go to Canada. So he went there, and while he was in Canada, he had to stay in a jail. But it was a little deceptive because that jail was actually a remodeled jail that became like a hotel or something. But it was still a funny part of his little story. And while in his jail cell, Jacob again started applying for visas because he really wanted to work in New York City. That's where his girlfriend lived, that's where his contacts were, that's where a lot of the work that he loved doing was. So, I skipped one there. So, unfortunately, he wasn't able to do it in time while he was in Canada, so he had to go all the way back to Australia and keep working on it from there. So, he worked with some lawyers and eventually was able to get another visa back to New York City. So he goes back to New York City, but he didn't even have a job lined up. He just trusted that if he got there, he could find a job again, hopefully. And on his first day back to New York City, Jacob gets an email from someone who found his work online, and they invited him in for an interview the next day, and he was given the job. So the big point here is within 2 months, Jacob had lost two jobs, found two jobs, went to Canada, Australia, and back to New York City, all in that time frame. And he just wanted to say that because of his personal foundation that he made with his website, he was able to do the work that he loves in the city that he loves, and it has been a safety net for to carry him through unexpected career bumps. So I wanted to kind of get started with you on that note. Um, so what's been your biggest holdup for creating a personal website? What's the reason? Maybe it's something that you hadn't thought about before, and we just gave you that idea. Maybe it's the time commitment, or maybe it's too expensive, or what have you. I just want to kind of get a feel for the people in here. What has been your biggest holdup? And I asked this similar question on the registration, so I'll show you some answers here in a little bit while you're doing that. Just doing it, yeah, that's a big one. I was you, Byron, Brian. When I was in college, I was told I should have had a personal website, and I didn't make one until a year ago. And I was capable of it. I just hadn't done it because I just hadn't done it. But I did it in a weekend, and I'll show you it in a little bit here, but so you can see. Where are some other ones you're saying? All right, really good. It never crosses your mind. Yep, that's perfectly reasonable. The ROI, that's a huge one. We'll talk about that. It's difficult to find something really interesting and unique to say. I hear that one a lot too, Beatrice. So we'll talk about that as well. Um, and it's never bubbled up as a priority. So yeah, those are all good. So here's what I was seeing when I checked this morning on what people were saying in the registration. A big one was content, going along with what Beatrice said. She could be the fifth name here. But what I want to talk about with that too is that a lot of people think because you have a website, you have to write something for it every week, or you have to keep it updated, and it's just going to be a big hassle. I write a lot for my Careertopia, and I do that all the time. But my personal website, I really honestly don't update that often, maybe once a month. And I'm a big writer guy, so if I'm doing it once a month, then yeah, you can probably do a once a month little blog post, or even if you don't want to blog, you don't have to. Just having that personal website up there with your standard content, so that when someone's Googling you, they can learn a little bit more about you, is perfect. And you can set it and forget it for a while. So don't let that stop you. The other big one I see is that people don't know how or they need resources. So that was a big one for people. It's a photo of you online. I hate the way I look too sometimes, so I can relate to
But
that.
Kimberly, the one thing, the photo is very important. Maybe get a friend, get a really good professional shot made, because in LinkedIn profiles, for example, a lot of the research says that that picture does a tremendous amount for connecting with others. So having a really good photograph is important. But what you
Yeah,
want is good photographs up there.
yeah. And the last common theme I saw from a lot of you was time. And what I
Yeah,
want to say about that,
Linda had the statistics, 7 times more likely for them to go in if
yeah,
they see your picture.
exactly. It's huge. On the time side of things, I'm not going to lie, it does take some upfront time to get something like this started. Um, Once it's up though, it's very minimal time to keep it maintained, especially for a personal website. Um, so so yeah, you do have to be able to have it be enough of a priority to get it set up at least, and then from there, it's not that big of a deal. And the other honest thing is that uh, once you kind of know what how the process works, you literally can do this in a weekend, and that's all the time it took for someone like me to do my own one. And I'll show you kind of what I got out of a weekend's worth of work because I haven't changed it for that reason. I wanted to show you kind of what a quick personal website can look like. So does any of this sound familiar? And I want you to type yes if any of these will resonate with you. So the first one is I don't know how much it will cost and can I afford it? So I'd build a personal website, but I'd build a personal website, but I'm not a designer, right? Or I'd build a personal website, but I don't know how to make a website. Or I'd build a personal website, but I don't even know where to start. That was me a while ago. I'd build a personal website, but I don't know what to put on it. So those are big issues for a lot of people. So my goal is to basically help you get through all these different hurdles so that you can feel comfortable if this is something you really want to do. So I wanted to start with some examples of what personal websites kind of look like so you can see what I'm kind of going with. So I'm going to shrink this for a second and pull up my web browser. I'll make it bigger, hopefully. So I'm moving it over now. All right, and so let's make this bigger. Let me know if you can see a little bit better now, if that's
Yeah,
coming
that's
in
a bit
clearly
better.
enough.
Although I've got a
All
big
right,
screen too, with people with small screens would still
sure.
find that.
More of what I don't know what to put on it. Yeah, so maybe seeing these website examples will help you see what you can put on yours. And that's kind of like my hope with a lot of these. So here's one from Ricky Downs, and these are simple little personal websites you can make in a weekend. He just has a quick little homepage with what his like who I am kind of thing. He has some examples of his work, so you can see that. And this is like a designer site, so not all of us are designers. You don't have to necessarily have a place for your work. He has some more about who he is, contact information, stuff like that. And then he has his personal resume. So that's a really good example of a quick, easy little personal website that someone put together. Let's go to Dan's because we talked about him. So here's Dan Pontefract. He works for TELUS. He's in charge of what's he in charge of again?
He's the
Their
chief learning
Oh, he's
officer
chief
at TELUS.
learning officer. Okay. Yeah, so here he has a little blog. You can see how often he's a really busy guy. So I'm impressed that he keeps his blog updated, like he does. So he just did one yesterday. There you go. And then he did one on the 4th. So this guy, I mean, he's running a really big organization, and he's still keeping a blog going. Props
Here's
to
a
him.
very interesting one. Go down one just to show what he posted, this recent one. I think I just saw it about after 5 years I'm leaving. He's um, he's actually moving to another job inside of TELUS from chief learning officer, and he's actually posting on his blog, which is public,
What a great
in,
example.
about trying to find someone to replace him.
Yeah, look how many views he's getting
He's
for
had
the company too.
5,000 views on his blog on replacing him at TELUS.
Yeah, no,
It
that's
makes
a
you
great.
rethink the concept of inside-outside companies that are happening today. There was a
Yeah,
great video by a bunch of senior leaders. It was sponsored by IBM, but one of the things that happened on this panel is one of the chief guy, I think it was Morgan Stanley guy, said, you know, if they brought us today the concept of a telephone, executives would say, well, we can't really allow that thing in because people might let information out on it. It was
yeah,
just the example that all of the that we you know we have to catch up as leaders have to catch up with the new social media and the technology because it's happening.
yeah. This was another page that inspired me. I need to put something like this on my own page or my own website. But if you have written for any like publications, any other blogs in your industry or anything like that, it's great to have a little page to kind of show those off. So if you're a leader, that's pretty good to do. If you haven't really written anything for anything online, it's really easy actually to actually get started doing that. If you read any blogs that are related to your industry and you're an expert in something and you think you have like a good idea, you can often just contact them, tell them what your idea is, and they'll be more than happy to let you do a guest post for them. And that gives you some more credibility too, and some things you can put on your personal website. All right, so that's Dan. Here's mine. Just wanted to show you that really quick. Let me load it up because I want you to see the cool effects. Yeah, wasn't that awesome? No, but this was what I basically did in about in over a week in about a weekend, 3 days. So I just made a quick little thing about what my specialties were: digital media, inbound marketing, social media. I put a quote from one of my LinkedIn testimonials, and I could actually probably make a page just for like testimonials if I wanted to. I've I have my blog listed up here, but again, I'm not keeping it updated as much as I could be, and I mean I have that content.
And some of those
So,
blogs are you reuse stuff, right? Some of them are ones we've done on Balanced Work Life blog, on the Careertopia
exactly.
blog. They're you wrote them. You can put them out as evidence of the kind of work you do.
Yeah, exactly. And then I've put a portfolio together, my resume is on there, contact information. So again, this is really just easy, simple little pages. You don't have to feel super overwhelmed. Writing your about page, putting a PDF together of your portfolio is not too much work to upload. And then the last one I want to show you is this one. This is one of Jim's, uh, someone Jim's really been fascinated with from their personal website. And she works for, where does she work now? She used to work for SAP, is that
She's
right?
working for a company up in Seattle. When I first tripped over one of her websites, or her website, she was running a billion-dollar business for SAP.
Yep.
And this was, and she was using the website to communicate to everybody that was hired in her department, in her function, about her leadership style and her management style. But it also allowed her to promote her personal brand and her personal causes. She was very much into helping other women be successful. Um,
Yeah.
and so it's evolved over time, but it's always been her blog. And when she
Yep.
moved to the next organization, her blog just goes with her,
Yep.
and and the history of it all.
No, and this is a good example of someone who does have a lot to say. So
Yeah,
if
she is
you
a
have a lot to say, you can make more of a blog style kind of personal website if you want. So that's those are just some good examples of the personal websites that I wanted to show you there. What did you find most interesting out of those sets? I want to kind of get your thoughts on what's resonating with you from a personal website perspective. And maybe I can show you some more ideas with that. If you want to type those in, I'll go on to the next thing. So what's it going to cost to make something like what I just showed you? So the typical cost for maintaining a personal website, you'll have two things. You'll have a fixed cost, like just a one upfront kind of thing. You pay it once and you never pay it again. Then you have some of the recurring things, and I'll show you what those are here. So the only thing you really have to pay once for is a theme, and that's the site's design. And I'll show you more of these themes in a second here. So that's kind of like the layout of it. It makes it so all you do is you plug in the content where you want it, and it makes it look really nice. Oops. And then the next thing is the recurring. So you have to buy your domain. So that's where you go like GoDaddy.com and you go, I want to register BryceChristiansen.com. And then you pay once a year, or you can even buy it for multiple years if you want. And it's typically around $12.99. You can get these for even cheaper if you look for the deals or whatever. So I just put like really standard prices. So this is even if you're counting at like the higher costs. And then hosting is the other thing in the recurring. So that's what hosting is. That's like your home for your website. Your website has to exist on an actual physical server somewhere. And so you're paying to basically rent that little space from that server, and you pay usually about $5 a month. Again, that's a high amount. I see a lot of them for about $2 a month. So if even with these numbers, you're looking at getting started for only about $58. And that's a pretty good deal. Is that what everyone was expecting it would cost? High or low? I'm just kind of curious what price range you're all thinking a personal website would cost. Yeah, you're expecting you think this would be higher or lower? Yeah, that's a good point. Lower than I expected. About right. That's way lower than I expected. Cool. Yeah, and the other thing is, if there's other ways to do this that are free, you can get free hosting, but you don't usually get as much control. Again, it's kind of like the LinkedIn style where you can get like a blogger or like an about me page, but you fall into their kind of system of how they want it to look. So it's kind of not as personal. Um, so then, is there an ROI in personal websites? So yeah, go ahead and type in chat if you think there's an ROI or what the ROI on a personal website is. And I'll share some examples here. So like, what's the ROI on a new job? A personal website could really do that for you. What's the ROI on getting more clients? If you maybe working in a service industry or whatever, and you're getting your name out there for more clients to come to you. Or maybe there's passive job offers. You didn't even know there was an opportunity waiting for you. But because you have a personal website, that headhunter, that recruiter, that CEO found your site and wanted to grab you. Or because you wrote something or put something on your site that went and got out into their circle. Yeah, less than the cost of a networking lunch if you pick up the bill. That's a great
Yeah,
example of cost.
that's a good way of looking at it, right?
Yeah. A platform for your personal brand. That's been a huge one, and I think that will be a huge one going forward for a lot of people. And then being valued in your company. Someone like Dan Ponifract, where we just showed you how he's literally bringing in all these possible people to replace his previous job. He's doing that because he's built this platform, and this company values that. That's amazing. Not many people can say they can bring that to a company. Um, so the big question here is where do I start, right? Maybe you feel like now I can justify paying the $60 to get started. Um, so the big question really is, can you do this? So this is where you have to be honest with yourself. A lot of us are capable of doing this, but there are some things you'll have to keep in mind. So for example, you will have to write content for your site. You can't just put up a blank site or with whatever the demo content was for your theme. So you have to have at least that in you. But you don't have to write every week. So don't feel like if you don't have something to say every week that you can't have a personal website. Be somewhat comfortable using software like Word. One of the tools I'll show you here is a tool called WordPress. You might not have heard about it, or you might have, but it basically is like using Word for your website. So you type in your content, you format it, you make it look bold, or you put in a picture where you want it to show up, and then that's what will actually show up in the page. So you have to be kind of comfortable with some kind of software like Word. If you can't even use Word or internet, it just really frightens you, then maybe it really isn't a good idea. It could be overwhelming for you. And then be comfortable using Google to continue learning. So the other big thing about personal websites is you can this is something that you will probably continue learning for the rest of your life if you really wanted to. I mean, I work on websites every day and I learn something new every day. So there's a lot of ongoing learning. You don't have to know everything at first though. You can really get by with very little knowledge of how this works. But the good thing is that there is tons of help out there online. All you have to do is Google it, and they'll help you get through whatever kind of maybe hiccups you're getting. And all this comes with a lot of free support when you buy your theme. So that's the other nice thing. Then the other part is you have to be motivated to finish it. Just like any other big project, a lot of times write in chat, yes, if you've ever started something but never finished it. That could be all of us, right? And this is no different.
Oh, aren't we all, right?
So,
Well, I
so
really
yeah,
liked
I just
an example of you, Bryce, where you decided to do this. You left on a Friday night from scratch and came in Monday morning and had your website done.
yeah, exactly.
And I think
I
it's
just
surprising
had to
thing
tell
is that
myself
you
to do it.
actually, most people do have a lot of stuff. It's just they've never organized it, never thought about it. But you've
So
got good examples of work you've done, write-ups. You write,
yeah, exactly.
you've written articles for other companies, other organizations. You respond, write book reviews and stuff. People do that and don't think of it as theirs.
Yeah, exactly. So I want you to type it yes in the chat if you feel like that previous chart, you can do all those things. Because if not, then we can probably just end the webinar right here and no one else will get any value. So, but yeah, that's good. Good. Yes, all right. I at least have two or three of you guys still with me. But anyways, now I'm going to get into the nitty gritty of how you actually do this. And a lot of this comes out of this guide that I just made. It's about 50 pages, full of pictures, videos, how to step-by-step process of how to actually do this
It's a
personal
good
website.
example, Bryce, the way you put these ebooks together, because it's really almost like a website in of itself in that it's an ebook, but it's got hot links everywhere. So when it says pick your themes, what you're able to do is take them to 4 places for themes and describe how they would pick it. Because the price is nothing. It's that it's stepping you through that process of how you do that quickly.
Yeah, and it's overwhelming to kind of put all these pieces together. So I just wanted to do that for you so you don't have to worry about what do I do next, or I've heard about buying a domain, but I don't know what to do after that. Um, so the first step that I always have people do, and what I did for my own website, was I just made a little mind map of what I wanted on my website. So this is really simple. You can do this on on like a napkin, piece of paper. You can do it on your computer, whatever you prefer. And you just write out the pages that you want and maybe some pages under pages and just get kind of an idea of what the end goal is of what you're looking for. Um, and then the second thing is we're going to find a theme. And so I'm going to show you more about what a theme is and how you can do that. So I have some examples. Again, I'm going to pull up my web browser here. I have some open already for you. Um, so let's see. So when you look for a theme, let me actually Google it so I can show you how you can even do it. All right, let's go to google.com. So everyone starts off in a familiar place. I know how that feels. All right, so you're at Google, right? And you want to find a theme for your website. So we use these things called WordPress themes. And you can even look for like best WordPress themes. And you can even write for whatever it is. Or you can go, let's try 2013. So if you Google it, you'll get tons of options for people who put lists together. So you can go, okay, November 2013, that's really recent. Let's see what this guy's saying. So he has all these listed here, and I'm going to go into one of these so you can kind of see how it works, but let me find one that might make the most sense. Um, let's go with this one. Looks kind of crazy. All right, so once you find one you like or it looks interesting, you just click on it from one of these lists, and then you're going to see a button called Live Preview. And what this lets you do is you can actually preview what the theme is. And so what you're going to see here is an example of what your website could look like. All these images you can totally change out. Um, and so they will lets you do like different things. So you might put a different kind of homepage on. I actually don't like this one as much. So let me show you an example. So let's say we went to this thing right here, live preview. So I'm doing a Moxie now. So here's a good example. So you'd have a slider like this. You could customize what it says here. You can put the little images of whatever you want. You can make it your face instead of some goldfish. Um, let me, you can change whatever it says here. You can make them pop up and it'll look really nice. And it's really easy to set this all up, which is cool. You can see how different things work. So let's say, oh, I want to see what the blog looks like on this thing. And you go, oh, okay, so I'll basically have like a bigger picture here, the headlines here, a little blurb about what the article is. That looks kind of cool. Or maybe you can go, hey, look, there's different options for the blogs. This one's pretty cool. So let's try a blog image to the side. And so now you have this option. So it kind of gives you an idea of, okay, this is the layout of the site. These things will change. Like you can put your logo there instead, and you don't have to worry about it being exactly like this. Your pictures for the blog will show up instead of theirs, and all that stuff. So does this make sense? Let me know if this kind of gives you an idea of what a theme is doing for you. I'll show you a few
Yeah.
other examples here. So like,
Yeah, Ted,
say you want,
Tom, we do recommend WordPress.
yeah, WordPress is, this is what I'm recommending for you because I think WordPress is just the easiest to get started with if you've never made a personal website before. Yes, WYSIWYG, exactly. Yeah, and so here's an example of how a portfolio might work. And so that's just one thing. I'll show you one more, or let's do, that's another one there. Let's see if I can find, let's go back to that list. Where was it? Or Astrum. There we go. Here's another one. So Astrum, here's one that lets you put a video in the slider. So you can play a cool video. You can even keep this image if you like it and put your own video in there. And it looks really slick, right? Um, and then you can change how homepages even look. So like this one, let's see if they give you some options. Maybe this one doesn't. But let's say you wanted to look at what an about page looks like. Here's an example of layout they're using. This is more like a business thing, but there's
Got
a
number of
bunch.
people,
Yeah,
pictures of each
exactly.
person, a small team.
But what you're seeing here is basically without having to do any design work, you can have a really nice looking site. It looks really clean. It looks really professional. It's really easy to just
Yeah.
substitute your own wording in for these pages. You
I
can
think
get rid of elements you don't like, all that. Yeah. Yeah, it's ready to go. Exactly, Siobhan. That's a good way to put it. It's really, you think of it as basically a paint by numbers kind of thing for your website. You go, okay, take out that content, put in this instead. Take out that
yeah,
picture, put my picture instead. Take out their logo, put in my logo. Take out the goldfish on the slider, put my faces everywhere. Whatever you want to do, really. It's really cool. So let me continue here. So how do you find the theme? There's a bunch of theme sites. So a lot of times a site is dedicated to just making these different kinds of themes. Here's some examples. And these are all listed in that guide if you want them again. And we're recording this webinar too, so you can watch it again later. And then you can Google, just like I did in this example. You find tons of lists. So you could find, there's literally thousands of different themes. And then I've recommended some themes if you just want to kind of see some good ones that I've thought were neat to do. So once you've kind of found your theme, now I don't recommend buying your theme before this step. You'll actually do it all at once, which is kind of really handy. You'll want to then purchase your domain. So that's where you come up with, am I going to make my website brycechristiansen.com or am I going to make it prettyponies.com or whatever you want to name it? I really recommend buying your name if it hasn't been taken yet. Just owning that alone is really helpful for getting that extra Google SEO for anytime someone's looking you up. And a lot of times, if you're looking for a new job, if they're looking to promote you, if they are uh, seeing who would be a good person in the company for for a position that's just opening up, they will Google you first. And being able to have your personal website show up at the top controls what these people can see. And if you have your name in that domain, it's going to make that even easier for that to happen. So that's a good thing to do. So then once you're done getting your domain, you'll need to get hosting. And the good thing about this is if you use someone like GoDaddy or One-on-One or name.com, a lot of them have, you can buy a domain and you can get hosting at the same place. And that's really the simplest way to do it. And if you do it that way, you literally, when you go to buy your domain, it'll literally walk you through this whole process of buying your domain, then getting your hosting set up, and then getting WordPress installed, and then you're already halfway there. I've recorded a video of all of this. So yeah, once you got your hosting, you'll install WordPress, and don't worry about how do I install WordPress? I've got a video for that too, and I'll show you that in a second here. But this is just a look inside of WordPress if you've never seen it before, just so you can get an idea of what you're actually editing. So at the top here is like the heading for that page, building effective relationships. This is one of our pages on our website. Does it matter if you're in Canada resourcing a domain and hosting? No, it doesn't matter if you're in Canada at all. We live here in Scottsdale and we've had our website hosted in Canada before. So it's international. It doesn't matter where you live or where it's hosted or anything. It really just it can work from anywhere. But again, back on this web page, you basically see up here what the name of that page is. Here's the content that's in the page. It's literally edited like a Word document. So when I wanted some underlined, I just underline it using their underline tool right here. And it's very familiar. If you're used to using Word, you can really pick this up pretty quickly. I'm not. It's definitely something you might have a little bit of learning curve to begin with, but it's not hard to get used to it once you
Well,
actually start
it's
trying.
not that you make a mistake. You do it and you put it up and it's wrong, and then you just edit it again.
Yeah, exactly. And if you ever get stuck, the great thing about buying a theme is that it comes with free support. So if you ever get stuck, you can email the theme developer and they will answer your question, which is great. Um, so then the last thing you do once you have your WordPress installed is you install your theme. And so if you really want to see like this process done without any like hidden doors or anything. I've put it on our YouTube page. It's on if you just go to youtube.com/Careertopia, it's called like how to build a website or how to set up your website in some amount of time or something like that. And so this is where I took Carol. You can see her down here. So Carol made a personal website, and I was taking her through the process, and we recorded it. So you can see we used GoDaddy, we bought the domain, we got hosting, we installed WordPress, then we installed the theme, and this literally took 13 minutes. So you can see that whole thing there. It kind of will make more sense when you see it in process.
But the
Yeah,
key, it's
see?
13 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. It's not too much time. You just and that's a one-time thing also. Once you get it, once you buy this all and set it up, you don't ever have to set it up again for your website. It's nice and done. And then you get to do all the fun stuff, which is editing your site. So you just go in there, you look at the existing, you look at their about page if you liked it, and you just erase what you don't like, put in what you like, put it in your picture instead of their pictures, and use that all with this tool that's already built into WordPress that looks very familiar to what you're already using for Word or any other like word processing kind of sites. So it's not too overwhelming. That's the goal. So again, if this is something you want like an actual guide for, we have put it all together in this thing. It's over 50 pages. There's step by step. It has videos for using not just GoDaddy to do this, but a bunch of other sites too. If for some reason you really hate GoDaddy or anything else. And we're selling it for $35. You can find it on our in our shop at mycareertopia.com, or you can just go right to this website, mycareertopia.com/personal website, and find it there. And then the other thing is that maybe you watch this and you go, wow, this still feels super overwhelming for me. What if you need some hand holding? That's totally fine too. Maybe I could learn how to do this, but I don't know. I don't have the time to do it. Maybe I just need help setting it up, but I could fill it in once I have the shell. That's totally fine too. I need a little coaching to help me figure out how to get started and maintain on my own. That's fine too. If this sounds like you, then we are offering a personal website coaching bundle, where I'll basically work hand in hand with you to set up your domain, get the hosting done, get the theme installed, and get the dummy content in there. So all you have to do is go and upload your own content. And I can even help you with that if you're gung ho and you get your content done soon enough. And we'll just put it all together right there. So we're doing this because it's a more intensive process. It involves me working with you multiple times. It's more expensive. It's at $1,500, but it's still affordable for a lot of the executives or leaders that are wanting to start building their personal brand online. And what we'll do in that is we'll do an orientation call where I'll help you get that mind map started. We'll find a theme that you like. We'll come up with your domain name and we'll get all the organization out of the way. Then the second thing we'll do is I'll do the setup with you. And that's where I'll work hand in hand with you. So you don't have to worry about, oh, do I need this option or this option? Or you don't have to have any of those kind of questions in your head. You can have that peace of mind that you're doing it right. Um, so you can see it involves the domain and theme and WordPress and all that stuff. And then we'll document all of your usernames and passwords because when you buy a hosting, you need a domain or you need a username and password. When you get your theme, you'll need a username and password. When you set up WordPress, you'll need a username and password. So it's nice to have these all in an easy to find place later on if you ever need to come back and get more hosting or something changes. And then I'll actually on my own do a lot of the back end work. So I'll get it all installed for you. I'll rework the site to fit your layout. I'll do the plugin content where I'll plug in your content for whatever you've written for your site. And that way, if time is really like the issue or anything else, and you just want it a shell made and get it out there, that this is really helpful for that. And then I'll end by taking you on a tour of your site, showing you how to find your content in WordPress, and give you some additional resources so you can continue to maintain it or update it on your own. So that's kind of the deal there. If that's something you want, you can just email me or Jim. And we're only going to take 3 clients right now because I want to make sure I give you the time that you need for this. And I'm not spread thin or trying to forgetting what one client wanted versus another one or anything else like that. So I wanted to get your questions too, if there's any questions you're having about personal websites, so that we can help answer them here now. Go ahead and put that in there. And the obvious thing also is that we want to make sure you're happy. So if there's any reason you're not happy, we'll give you your money back. 30-day guarantee for sure. Great. Yeah, go ahead and start typing some questions. We'll be happy to answer them. If there's any examples you want me to show you, if you want me to pull up my WordPress and show you something specific, I can do that.
We've also, Bryce, another thing, if anyone has a comment, we've had some debate internally about the right time to run these webinars.
Yeah,
This is run at 9 o'clock
AZ time now.
Arizona time, but it's really because we have so many people coming around the world now on, it's hard to tell when the best times to hold them are.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some of these that were coming in while I was gone. So, yeah, Gwen brings up a good point that there's a lot of free themes too. So if you want to just use a free one, you can start with that. You can always
Yeah.
upgrade later.
Yeah, I think your good point, Bryce, is that whether you purchase a theme or use a free one, it's not particularly expensive.
No,
Um,
exactly.
and the whole process of pulling one together isn't particularly onerous. And your ebook is fabulous in the sense of stepping one step at a time and then showing all the different examples. So this this would be quite reasonable for someone to spend $100 on a weekend and build their own website.
Yeah, exactly. No, and that's a great plan, Kimberly. Yeah, just start with that first step and mind map what you want on your website, and go from there. Literally, that if you follow those steps, you can even Google those online, and or you can just go to GoDaddy and start just buy your domain, get your hosting.
Mm.
It'll ask if you want to install WordPress when you're done buying hosting, and you just say, yeah, that sounds good. And then you'll just log into it and they'll edit from there to install your theme if you buy one or use one of the free ones that they already have.
Thanks for joining us, Ron.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
really
as
fun. Yeah, sure.
Siobhan said, I think. I mean, this could be fun. I mean, this is the kind of
Yeah,
thing. It's like a scrapbook project at home. in a
Totally.
funny way, right? We always do these. We had fun at them, play at them. You know, you could bring up
No,
a website, and maybe it's not perfect the first time, but you'll learn it, then you can get rid of that one and go to a different theme. You know, it's a
totally.
learning exercise. Is give yourself permission to learn and play and try stuff out.
Good, good. What if your domain's taken? I know. I hate when people take my name. So that's the reason. That was a big reason why I had to do it fast. Um,
Right
you
now it's
can always
seven
sell your.
percent. Remember that number? So you're right, when it gets to be 50, a lot of people have picked up other names if your name's common.
No, yeah, you do. Yeah, that's a good point about urgency. You don't want to sit on this. If you can get your domain bought sooner than later, even if you won't have your site finished right away, it's good
Yeah.
to just at least secure your domain.
Yeah, I mean for $15 you can lock up your domain forever.
Siobhan, you're probably okay, I hope.
Yeah. You have such a lovely unique
Yeah,
name.
Brian, I would say maybe try your middle initial in there if you have one,
Yeah.
um, because that will still help you with your Google ranking coming up. You can do a .me if you want to. I've looked into whether .coms, .mes, .nets, .orgs or anything have any relevance on searching, but it doesn't. So
Oh,
don't
good.
worry.
Carol can get hers right away. Good.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, it's easy to check too if it's available or not. Just on the, if you go to the homepage of any like domain registration site, that's the first thing they ask is, what do you want for your domain? And you put it in there, I'll tell you if it's available or not. Oh, this is good. Oh, thank you, Luis. Yeah. No, I appreciate you buying these ebooks when we put them out. I really want to, my goal is to always make it so that the value is higher than the price for these things, and to really make it easier for someone who wants to do this thing on their own, that they can have everything they need in one place to do that.
Louise, see if you can find someone that would be interested in doing it as well, like a buddy, and two of you do it
Yeah,
together. So, and then you can kind of compare notes and ideas, and that can actually, you know, that's sort of coaching and teamwork can actually really make a difference.
yeah, no, that's a really good point. Look at go The other thing that really excites me when I'm looking at websites is just looking at those themes and seeing the potential for what you can put on there. You see a really nice theme that you like and you go, wow, I wish this was my site, and it really could be your site in just a matter of time. Um,
Yeah,
so it's really
Bryce,
cool.
I'm thinking you were talking about the first step doing the map. In
Yeah,
some respects, if you go and look at themes, you'll see all kinds of maps because that's what they really are. That'll give you,
yeah,
it might stimulate you to do it slightly differently.
yeah. No, and that's a good point, Brian. We, I mean, some people think $1,500 is a lot of money, but this is a lot of time and hand holding, and
That's
it's
right.
a pretty good
Thanks,
deal for
Byron.
a lot of the
Yeah,
developers out there. You'll see.
yeah, yeah.
We we want to make sure that.
We're not really in the business of building websites. It's just we have a lot of clients that we get excited with this stuff, and then they're looking for help. So on a selective basis, we want to help them. The real target we're after is with the ebooks. Can we help people do this themselves?
Yeah, yeah.
Louise, that's right. Get somebody that can keep you accountable. Good idea.
I don't have one right now for the coupon or a coupon code for it, but we might end up doing a sale on it in the future, maybe a Christmas thing or something. But for right now, we're probably just gonna keep it at that price. Just getting started. No, it should be good. No, yeah, thanks to everyone for coming. We're gonna close it up here. Looks like everyone's done with the questions here,
A
so that's
couple
good.
more people typing
Oh, where
some
can I
stuff
pick
up.
up the other videos? Yeah, go to our YouTube page. If you just look up Careertopia on there, you should be able to find our YouTube page, and that has the other webinars that we've done, and it also has the setup video that I talked about in this webinar. Yep.
Yeah, Yes. Send links to your friends. We're looking for lots of people to do this.
Yeah, that's a great time to do it, Brian, because when you're young and you're just getting started in your career, you have a place you can keep documented all of your like career achievements as you go. If you pick up a really cool, if you finish a really neat project and you want to document it on your, it's a great place to keep it on your site. As you go to all your different companies or different jobs for the rest of your career, you'll have this one platform where you can kind of organize it all, which is really great.
You know, that's such a good point because most of us, like you take some guy in their early 30s and you ask them what they did when they were 21, 22, and or a specific year, we forget so much. We've done a lot in company. You run these great projects, you don't write them up, you don't have a description of them. But if you're doing this as you go along, by the time you're 30, you could have an incredible website
Oh yeah.
that'll really drive your confidence as well as be a reference point because you realize what you've really done in the past.
Totally. Awesome.
Byron
Thumbs up.
Smith
I
got
love
something.
that.
Perfect, Byron. Go for it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
we'll let
Yeah.
you guys go now. 10:01, 1 hour
Okay.
as we predicted. Thank you all very much for attending. Good stuff, and look for the links and the recorded stuff.
Yep. Exactly.
We're off. Shall I